So it really doesn't matter what type of animation you do, because if you're an animator, you've probably run into the problem where you've animated something and you look back at it and you're really not satisfied with what you're seeing. And I'm not gonna lie, this has happened to me a lot. So I've come up with a list of 5 things which will really improve your animations. So when I started animation, I started out with 10 frames per second in iMovie. And let's be real, 10 frames per second is good, but it's not great. So when I learned about the fact that people actually animate at 24, I was like, okay, I gotta switch something up. So I got a new software and everything, but my animation actually got way worse because I was animating at a super high frame rate. So everything just looked really fast because I was animating like I was animating for 10 frames per second, but it was sped up. Does that make sense?
Hey Grandma, thanks for this amazing meal. It's really tasty.
So if you're gonna animate at higher frames per second, you have to slow down the way you animate. And that can be very hard, but also think about the fact that 24 frames per second maybe isn't even the best look for animation. In recent years, I found you can be way more productive if you don't do 24 frames per second. That just takes forever. I feel like there's a very stylized look with kind of low FPS animation. So my personal opinion, go from 8 frames per second to 15 max. Don't do anything else. Don't go below that, don't go above that. Now, the next thing is more about the actual animation itself. This is actually one of the fundamental animation principles. Ease in and ease out is a very common thing we see in nature. Think about a ball flying up in the sky. If you throw a ball up in the sky, so you want to have like an ease in and then a drop and an ease out. So that's something you got to look out for. But that's not the only thing you can apply, because there's actually another fundamental principle, which is squash and stretch. And basically what this means is literal squash and stretch your objects. When you really want to exaggerate the movement, you can either apply a squash or a stretch to it. So let's just say you have a little ball and you're throwing against a wall. This happens in real life. It will slightly compress for a second. But the thing about animation, you can basically take anything to an extreme. The next step is just a small thing you can add to your animations to really make it feel better. And this is called holding frames, but you can use it to create a lot of tension. So if you have something, you can hold the frame for a certain number of frames, it will basically appear that it's going at a lower frame rate. And a lot of times you'll see it in people like about to punch someone, they're just gonna hold the frame right here, and they're gonna speed it up right here, and they're gonna punch. If you watch One Piece, they do a lot of holding frames and punching. It's like a really interesting strategy, and it's really good for fight scenes. It's really good for action. If you don't do this, like, it's just like holding you back. So this is the last thing, and this is kind of a controversial take because a lot of people don't use these things. So what I'm talking about is smear frames. They used to be very popular, but since computer animation, they've kind of been, I don't want to say less popular. People just haven't done the same amount of smear frames. So what I'm talking about is, you've often seen this in anime, in old Disney movies, but it's where they add multiple frames onto the same frame. There's a couple different versions of smear frames, but basically what it means is you're trying to add kind of like a blur to the camera, which is what you would see in real life. You wouldn't actually see each frame, and it makes it feel slightly more realistic, but you can also make it feel very cartoony. So the way people actually apply these are kind of combining all the stuff I've talked about so far. So they'll make like really stretched out animations for like one frame, and it will look super cartoony. Or they add multiple frames. Let's say I had like 4 arms. Like they add multiple frames to make it feel like it's going faster. There's a lot of different ways to apply this. And another way is just to smudge the image, and so it looks like it's moving with like a motion blur. That's what smear frames are, but a lot of times they can be used to like add to weapons. You can make like light coming off of them. And if you watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, you're gonna see them like every second. They use them so much. But it's like a very stylized look, which is very interesting because I feel like that's starting to make a comeback. And I feel like once you see all these Pixar movies and Disney movies nowadays, it doesn't feel like animation anymore. It feels a lot more like live action, and I feel like that isn't a good thing, and I feel like we should go back to those lower frame rates because that's what makes stuff feel almost nostalgic. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to be putting out a lot of animation content this summer, so if you guys are interested in that, please let me know, and if you're an animator, please subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video. Follow along. Cue the outro.